It's season 5. Cool Rob, let's go!
Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back. It's your boy Cool Rob, cooler than cool, cooler than the most, cooler than the other side of the pillow. Welcome back to another episode of Cool Rob Show. Thank you so much for all the love and support. It's touching the soul. When the soul is touched, it's a beautiful thing, so keep it coming. Don't forget to subscribe to Cool Rob TV. All caps, leave comments, like, dislike. Engage with me and engage with us. Engagement is a must because we always looking for the people to come on this show. Shout out to City of Oaks Media. Go to my boy's channel, showing some love, and showing some love. And I forgot to say, season 5, y'all. Not only is the Cool Rob Show, season 5, and I got a special guest. Let me hurry up and get to him without further ado. Principal Guy Turner, thank you so much, and how you doing?
I'm doing well, Cool Rob. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me today, man.
Thank you. I really appreciate you coming on. I know you got a busy schedule, so it just really means a lot that you taking your time out today to come on.
I wouldn't have it any other way, man. I got your back.
Thank you. And so, all right, so before we get started, because there's a lot I'm going to talk to you about, just a couple of things to get us warmed up. First and foremost, I've been doing my research, right? Big thing on my end. I do my research. And I heard you was a singer or used to sing or something like that. You can tell us about that?
Man, you've been stalking me on YouTube? Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about it. I actually went to undergrad on a music scholarship. So, I was that young black boy from Southeast DC trying to figure out, how I'm going to pay my way through college. And lo and behold, music did that for me. So music opened up lots of things for me. I traveled to Eastern Europe. I've been to Turkey, Bulgaria, Spain, all because of music. So I'm a, definitely believer of the arts and think that kids should have exposure to that because it did great things for me. Yeah, you can check me out on YouTube too. It's Cartoon Johnny, and on iTunes. We got a couple albums on there as well. So
Cartoon Johnny. So I'm definitely gonna do that. So you said Cartoon Johnny's, right?
Yeah, good stuff.
Like this stuff right there. I'm gonna check you out, Mr. Turner. And people all over the world come on the Cool Rob Show, right? I mean, all over. I'm talking about, Kentucky, Philippines, India, Charlotte. Where you currently located?
So I'm coming to the Cool Rob Show all the way from Southeast DC by way of Virginia right now. I'm living out in Alexandria, but I'm a proud DC native, born and raised, a product of DC public schools from preschool through 12th grade. So I'm a DC guy from Southeast. Yeah.
Good stuff right there. Good stuff right there. Shout out to the DMV, y'all. And Cool Rob Shows coming live from Hyattsville, Maryland, y'all.
There you go.
All right, so last thing before we get started, can you tell the people 3 things about Guy Turner? Just 3 things that we wouldn't know about you.
All right, awesome. 3 things that you may not know about me. I'm an avid foodie. So I can eat you under the table, but it needs to be something nice. I even dabbled a little bit in competitive eating. So I won a chicken wing eating contest one time. I ate 71 wings in 10 minutes. So that's one fun fact about me. Another fact is that I really enjoy creating music for children. So I'm currently working on a kids album with a couple of tunes on there. And lastly, I'm a huge reality TV junkie. So like you name it, I watch it, from the trashy to the classy. I'm in it. But those would be some things that people wouldn't know about me.
Good stuff right there. Good stuff to lead us off. Thank you so much. And like I say, if you're ready to get started, I'm ready to get started.
I'm ready, man.
All right. Thank you so much, y'all. Like I said, Principal Guy Turner on the Cool Rob Show, y'all. Let's get into season 5, y'all. All right, so Mr. Turner, can you tell us your journey to becoming a principal?
Yeah, I can definitely do that. Like I said, I'm a DC native. I was born to a young mom. My mom had me when she was about 16 years old. And, like every kid in DC, I have that same song, single parent, raised in ghetto, went through lots of things, homelessness and all that great stuff. But my mom always instilled in me that, she wanted better for me than she had for herself. And so she took school very seriously. So there was no playing around, even if at the moment we didn't have somewhere to live, I was in school. So I had perfect attendance, all that good stuff. And, I had a couple of teachers that were instrumental for me along the way. The first one I would say is Mr. Mayo. He was my first male teacher, 4th grade, Malcolm X Elementary School. Just really took his job seriously, and he saw himself as more than an educator. He was like a mentor. You know, he had this thing called the Gentleman's Club. He taught us how to tie ties, you know, all that cool stuff. And so I looked up to him. And, you know, I met a couple more people like Mr. Mayo throughout my educational experience. And at some point, I think around 11th grade, I said, you know, I think I want to go into education. And so by then I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I was just, you know, laser focused on that. So I went to GW for undergrad, got a degree in sociology, and right out of undergrad, I said, you know, I'm ready to go in the classroom. But it was hard to find a job. And so, you know, I was trying to figure out how am I going to do this education thing. So I decided I'm going to take anything in education where they will hire me. So lo and behold, I was hired to be an assistant teacher in a nursery school, which meant I was for 2 years changing diapers, teaching kids, potty training kids, singing songs, stuff like that. All the while knowing that, you know, I really wanted to be a teacher at the moment. And so God works in mysterious ways. While working at River Park Nursery School, a woman by the name of Jessica Woodach came in, and she was doing her research because she was starting a charter school. And, you know, she hung out in River Park for a little bit. After that, she called me over and said, you know, I'm here observing your program, but I'm starting a school, and I would be interested if you would want to, you know, interview. And so I said, why not? I sent her my resume, read up, you know, what she wanted to do. She was, at that moment to me, or she was on the cutting edge of what DC needed, because she was trying to open this school for, you know, kids of color that exposed them to rich experiences. So it wasn't about like test prep and all that crazy stuff. It was about exposing kids to things outside of the school building. And I could definitely get with that and wanted to help her do that. And so I interviewed in a law firm, signed a contract saying that, you know, we don't have a school building right now, but you have a job. And so, you know, I was down for that. You know, I felt like I was doing something that was going to change lives in DC, especially with the kids who looked like me and was from the places that I was from in DC. So I took that job. And I started there as an assistant teacher at Two Rivers. And lo and behold, I worked my way up, Mr. Rob, from an assistant teacher to a founding principal. So I did every role in between. I taught kindergarten, I taught first grade. I came back as an assistant principal. And then we wanted to open a new building. So I was the first principal in the country to replicate an EL school. So that, you know, that really set me up for wanting to stay in educational leadership and, you know, wanted to spread my wings a little bit, and just going back to that whole thing about having that same story that, you know, people have in DC. At some point in my journey, my brother was killed. So, you know, that kind of took me for a loop, and I said, maybe I don't want to be here anymore. I moved to Florida. Nah, scrap that. I ended up staying in DC, so I'm here. But on that journey, I switched and went into DCPS. I also was a high school principal for a little bit, but now I've settled in middle school, and I'm absolutely loving it. And I can say that, you know, I'm well-rounded. I've experienced leading from preschool all the way up through 12th grade. And the one thing that I find that's consistent in, you know, being a principal or being a leader in education is living through your actions and not through your words. And so, you know, I really keep that close to my heart. And you've worked with me before, so, you know, I try to be the first one there, last one to leave. And I really want to model for the scholars, you know, what you can achieve if you put your best foot forward. You know, that's really important to me.
Good stuff right there. That's my journey. Good way to lead us off. And yep, me and Mr. Guy Turner has worked together. Great guy right here, y'all.
Full disclosure, right?
So the question that popped up in my head if I get to the next one, because I know you taught from, like you said, you taught from the little ones all the way up into the 12th graders, right? Is there an actual grade you prefer, or just because you're educated, it's just no matter what, you all in?
I'm all in regardless of where I'm at, but to be honest with you, like from preschool to 12th grade, I really have a passion for younger scholars. So I would call that early childhood education. And the reason that I feel very strong about early childhood education because I was able to experience teaching in two very different environments. So I taught kindergarten in DC. And so, I had scholars coming to me who didn't know how to open a book, and when they opened the book, they didn't know the text directionality, top to bottom, left to right. Like, what am I supposed to do with this book? But I also taught kindergarten in Arlington County, Virginia, one of the most affluent counties in, Virginia next to Fairfax. And I had kindergartners coming to me with Harry Potter books in their hands. And these kids were not only knowing directionality, but they were reading Harry Potter at the age of 5. And what was the big difference in the two places that I worked in teaching kindergarten? Skin color. Majority of my kids were Black when I was teaching kindergarten in DC, and all of my kids were white when I taught kindergarten in Virginia. And so, I quickly saw the urgency that needed to happen in early childhood education to close those gaps. Because if we don't do the work in preschool, pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, we are creating an opportunity gap, an achievement gap that is going to be extremely hard to close. So that's why I hold, that grade or that section of kids very close to my heart. I get offended when people say, "Oh, you taught kindergarten, you must have had a lot of fun." And I said, well, it's not a ton of fun, filling in deficits of kids who, come with a bank of, less than 3,000 words, and it's my job to not only get them caught up, but I want them to go above and beyond that. Because as you know, Black and brown people, we have to be better than others. We can't be mediocre. I can't step up and not give 110 and expect to get, that position or that job or whatever, if I'm not walking in that office with some privilege. So I think it's our duty as Black men to really position ourselves to make sure our scholars are ready to be the leaders of the next generation. And so that starts with education, and it starts at a very young age. So I know that's a wordy answer, but I'm really passionate about, young scholars because young Black and brown scholars oftentimes have so many deficits. And we can talk about that for hours about why the deficits exist. But I like to be solutions oriented. So I'm like, we can talk about that for hours and we can do something about it. And I'm more of the, let's do something about it. So yeah, that's why I spent so much time, in a nursery school, teaching kindergarten. Even got Teacher of the Year in Arlington County when I was teaching kindergarten. And, people would say things like, he's the kindergarten whisperer. No, I entered that room, and when I taught in DC, like every day with the same amount of urgency that I would enter to deal with a 12th grader who I'm trying to get into college. Right. Because, that 5-year-old that I may have for 1 or 2 years, if I don't give him that strong start in literacy and number sense and number fluency, I'm setting them up for failure. So, I just took that really seriously.
And what you say they call it? A whisper? What they call it?
A kindergarten whisperer. It was funny, like the Pied Piper, like I got my little kids following me. I'm 6'5", I'm about 285. So that juxtaposition of that man and those little kids, and then them just following me like little ducklings, it was fun. It was fun. I absolutely loved it, but I took it extremely serious, all those years that I taught preschool, kindergarten, first grade, and even second grade. I walked in there like I was teaching a college course because one, I may be the only Black man some of these young Black boys see in school, in that position as their teacher or their educator. Because it's not typical that we see men of color in the classroom all the time. I think we've been lucky to work in some places where that's not uncommon, but it's actually common in a lot of places where, I would go through school and not see anybody that looked like me, That's why fourth grade, when Mr. Mayo was my teacher, I was just excited, you know, because all my teachers before him, even though I loved them, Miss Scott, there was a Miss Turner, there was a Miss Kelly, like I remember all these names, but then here comes Mr. Mayo, you know, he wore a tie every day, you know, and that was just different. It was just nice to see him, and, you know, be able to see yourself in somebody is quite powerful. You know, I didn't quite make that same connection to my sixth grade math teacher, who was a white guy. He was great, you know, but I didn't have that connection. Even when I got to high school, I remember my DC government teacher over at Eastern. I'm blanking on his name, which is really bad, but I graduated from high school in 1999. But, you know, pretty cool dude. He reminded me of like my uncle or my grandfather, you know, and that was just a connection that he had with all of these Black boys coming in his classroom. You know, the knucklehead of the most knuckleheads would act right in his class. And, you know, and that wasn't because, you know, and I'm not even going to say his classroom management was that good, because it wasn't, because I work in education now. So now I can look back and judge and be like, oh, that class was messy. But, you know, it was messy, but he had a way of dealing and talking to us, especially the young men, that we just did what he told us to do. You know, it wasn't an argument, you know, and sometimes in high school, I could have been a knucklehead, you know, and I have friends that were knuckleheads, but, you know, you look back and you think about those experiences, and that's what really ties me to being in school, because I'm saying, you know, if our kids don't see us and see what they can do, or even, I even say see beyond me, because I want you to be better than what I did, you know, I'm just a principal. I want you to be the president. If you can make it happen, you know? So I want you to see beyond me, but it's my first job is to like open up your eyes,
Right.
You know?
Good stuff right there. So, Mr. Turner, how long have you been a principal?
So I've been a principal for 9 years. So 3 of those years were an assistant principal / principal in training. So just lump all that together. I've been in educational leadership for 9 years. And it's definitely been a journey, because I remember when I first transitioned into leadership, I went back to a school where I was now the supervisor or, you know, boss of my peers, people that I taught with. And so that was something interesting to navigate, because you go from being the person who can text about the principal that you don't like to being the principal. So I wasn't a part of the text chain anymore. I was the person that the text chain was about. So, you know, and that took some getting used to. But one thing that I learned very early on in leadership is like everybody, they don't need to like me. Because one thing that I will always do is that I will never disrespect you. Right. So, you know, through my actions, I can establish a culture of respect, even with some of the most difficult people. You know, that would be the one thing I would say. You know, sometimes people say, I'm really good at this, I'm really good at that. I have a lot of patience. I don't know why I have a lot of patience, but I just do. You would think that all the stuff that I've been through, I should be a very impatient person. But I just learned a long time ago that if you wait and that if you are calm, the right thing will come along and the right thing will happen. And so that has actually made itself true in many aspects of my life, my personal life, my educational life, my professional life. Like when I stayed the course and I kept calm, I wasn't envious of what other people had, even when I never had anything and people around me had a lot. I said, I'll get it one day, you know? Right. And so I take that patience with me, and it definitely is very helpful when you are in that environment and trying to create this culture of people treating each other like human beings, you know?
I was getting ready to ask you something interesting that you said. Can you tell us the experience of being on the level as your coworkers, right? When you just, like you say, you're not the principal, you're the regular worker, you're just a teacher, or, you know, y'all on the same level.
Yeah, we good.
Becoming the principal now, and now you here and they here. Like, can you tell us some of your experiences dealing with that?
Yeah, so I will actually use your example as how I navigated that. You said we were all here, and then I was here, and they were here. So the first thing I made clear to them is that we were on the same team. So I wanted to make it clear to them that I was willing to get in there and do the shoulder-to-shoulder work. As a new leader in education, I was not all-knowing, and I'm still not all-knowing to this day. So I think what helped me be successful with navigating that relationship or those relationships, because it was a lot of them, was seeing myself as part of their team and not as, someone above them or someone who could tell them what to do. Because I think that's something that trips a lot of people up in leadership in general, that, good leadership is not about giving out directives and having people follow them. I think good leadership is about building capacity of the people around you. And then that way, people are doing the right thing because they know it's the right thing to do and they know the end goal. So it's not like, cool, Rob, I'm gonna come tell you, you need to have these lesson plans done during this time, and you need to have it all done because I'm the principal. Like that doesn't sit well with people. What sits well with people is that when you have a conversation around, when we have solid lesson plans, it gives a good roadmap for you to help these young Black and brown kids to be successful. Here is how I'm going to help you have these quality lesson plans. We're going to do it together. That's a totally different thing than me checking off a box telling teachers what to do. I plan on being in education for the rest of my life, but if I ever do go into a different career, I'm going to take that same philosophy with me, that I need to be a part of the team. And even in that leadership role, my role is to facilitate and not to, come down like a hammer. Now, that doesn't mean that there are some times where I am not the decision maker. I definitely know what it means to be the decision maker. I take that very seriously, but I also take into account people have feelings, and so you have to be cognizant of that and not come in and have people think of you as this person who just wants to tell them what to do. I always work with people to say, let's keep our mission in mind. What's our end goal? And if you can remove yourself from the situation and look at it from a higher level, what are we doing for these kids to be successful? Because as adults, Rob, like we can get mad at each other. I can say I'm not going to talk to you ever again, but that's not going to affect your paper. It's not going to affect your ability to feed your kids, because you got yours already. But if I, get snippy and upset with a kid, I'm doing damage. So, like people need to know that. Like, and I'm very serious about that. Like if you disconnect from a child, or if you, hold that grudge with the child, you do damage, and we all know that the kids that we're working with already come into the door damaged, because I was one of those damaged kids walking in the door. So I definitely know the ones that are coming in. I know what they're going through too. So, I tried to impart that on adults, because that's a tricky thing to navigate, because education is an emotional roller coaster. It's an emotional roller coaster. Think about now, we transitioned from being in buildings to being on computers. Teachers who, not to knock them, but, weren't too tech savvy to begin with, now that's their life. And so, they are under so much stress. And, it's just, and I'm seeing it play itself out with like peer-to-peer relationships, parents to teachers, teachers to scholars. And I just think we all need to lead with grace and extend grace, during this time. I think that's like the biggest thing, to know that a lot of us, we've never done this before. So we just need to take a breath and we'll figure it out together,
You just said something, a question just popped in my head. So what else, I guess you could just tell us a few, what are some of the complaints you hear from the teachers at a time like this as well, definitely with all the stuff that's going on right now?
I got a lot of them. These kids just don't want to learn. These kids don't want to turn in their work. These kids need to be held accountable. These parents need to be held accountable. Those are just some of the things I've heard at multiple schools and from multiple educators. And I'm not trying to like put the dirt out there on the street, But I think where that comes from is that there's a general frustration that, teachers have this power in their classrooms. And it's a good thing. I taught for many, many years. I taught for 10 years. So I know the things that I can accomplish in a room with a group of children that are in front of me. Teachers have lost a lot of power when you have a child on a computer, in a house with the radio on, the uncles in the back cussing, the new puppies running around. There's like a lack of control that I think has really shook a lot of teachers, and rightfully so. So I think that's what those things come from. So I said all those things with a smile on my face because that's actually how I internalize them.
Right.
I giggle along with the teacher, because at the end of the day, I understand like where that frustration comes from. You went from, I couldn't imagine when I was teaching kindergarten and they called me the kindergarten whisperer and I had 25 to 30 kids following me doing everything I told them to do, to having those 30 kids on a computer. I honestly can sit here on this channel and tell you I would be a little shook, So I definitely understand like where the complaints come from. And I don't think they're complaints half the time. I just think, sometimes people are frustrated and they need the time to take the top off that pressure cooker for a couple minutes, So I love my teachers. And so, like I said all that with a smile on my face because I understand where some of those things come from.
It's a great guy right here, y'all, Mr. Guy Turner. Mr. Turner, how many schools have you been a principal at?
So I've been a principal at 4 schools. So, and one of those schools, I was there for 7 years. So I do believe in like, grounding myself in an institution and, not being a floater. And the position that I'm in right now, I do see myself in for a very long time. I think, 2 of my transitions was about alignment and being philosophically aligned with the organization. And so to leaders out there, when you're looking for that job, that's something that you really need to hold true to your heart. Like, is this place aligned with who I am, how I conduct myself, and what I believe in? And that'll save you a lot of heartache at the end of the day. But where I'm at right now, I definitely see this as a school home. I feel welcome there. I believe in the work. I believe in the mission. And I see the fruits of, the teacher's labor and my labor because I still, even though I'm on a computer, I get up early and I get off the computer at 8, 9 o'clock. And that's like with meetings. So if I want to be at a place where if I have to grind like that, I don't regret it and I don't, want to gripe about it. I do it because I know it's going to make the place better. If I'm at that place and I'm doing all this stuff and I'm mad about it, that's really not the home for me,
Good stuff right there, Principal Turner. All right, so can you tell us your fondest memory?
Fondest memory.
One memory you can think of.
Yeah, I will. This is like a happy, sad memory. This is connected to my brother. So when I was a founding principal at Two Rivers at Young in 2015, my brother was killed 2-3 days before Christmas. Devastating to me, my whole family, everybody. I took a week off of work. But when I came back, we had these things called community meetings. And so I was like, I'm going to lead community meeting. I'm the principal. I'm back. I can do this. I got this. So go in there, and we start with our opening song. You got 300 kids on the floor singing song. And I immediately felt like I needed to come back here. Like, this is what's going to heal me. So, we're doing the community meeting and all of a sudden my parents interrupt and they bring up a basket of books. And so, I'm very passionate about literature that represents the kids that read it. So I would buy any book that had a brown child in front of it. Like, that was just like what I would do. I would go on Amazon and, Brown is Me, Chocolate Me, like Black Boy, it's Okay to Cry. All these books I just bought. I had them in my office in high school and I still have them in my office to this day. But my parents knew that about me. So they organized this whole thing behind my back where they got all of these books, like hundreds of them, and they put stickers in the back that said, "In loving memory of Kenneth Morris Jr." So they put books in all of my classrooms in memory of my brother.
Mm.
So and those books are in that school to this day. So like I still visit there. Teachers always like to say, "Look, like your books are still here," and that was a really good feeling. It's a good memory. And that also serves to show, when you are a member of a true community, it's more like a family, and they take care of you, and that was a time where, as a leader or a principal, I needed that. And I didn't articulate that, but that was actually something that I needed, and something that really aided in the healing of losing my little brother. It was really helpful.
Yeah, good stuff right there. Mr. Turner, what are your thoughts on COVID-19 and how is this pandemic affecting our students?
Man, COVID sucks. But but on a very serious tip, it has caused us to rethink education. And it has ripped the Band-Aid off of so many things. It has ripped the Band-Aid off of the disparities in our healthcare system between Black and brown people and those who have more affluent. It has shown the inequalities in our educational system. Even though we knew that they were always there, we were forced to all get on computers. And what was some of the first things we noticed about our kids in urban areas? That a lot of them didn't have the equipment or the internet at home to be able to access, their education. And we had to scramble, and we had to look to people like Xfinity and Comcast to give free internet. Schools had to buy hotspots. So what I think about COVID is that, it has definitely shined a light on things that need to be fixed, and that things need to be fixed right away. So, once we push through this whole thing, because I believe that we will, I am not afraid to say that I'm excited that Biden and Harris was elected, because we need to move in a direction where we actually are proactive about this disease that's killing all these people, especially people of color who don't have access to a helicopter and Walter Reed when they get it. So, because they're dying. And so, we have to take that seriously. And I think COVID has pushed us in a place where we can start to do better and be better by people. It put us in a position where, when we are having all of these Black men shot and killed by the police, I think that, of course, there was a rise up from our people. But I'm not gonna lie, I think that the presence of all the other people that weren't Black and brown, I was like, these people are out here, like everybody's at home, everybody's watching TV, and they were more engaged. And I just thought to myself, like, would these people be out here marching if they, weren't secluded in their homes and having this forced down their throats like we have had it forced down our throats for many, many years? Like, they were forced to see it because they were home. And I was like, is that one of the blessings that came out of that? Because it brought more faces to this movement, to actually get us in a place. Because I believe that Black people, we can do it on our own. But, it's good to have allies. So, maybe COVID pushed us to have more allies in our fight for social justice, because the amount of people that got out in the streets was unbelievable. And the time that they stayed out in the streets, like, it wasn't just we're going to protest today and go to work tomorrow. People stayed in the streets. And I think that even though we're in the midst of a pandemic, people showed, that we're not going to take this kind of stuff laying down. And not only are we not going to take it, like, we're going to organize and we're going to galvanize and we're going to do something about it. So I'm excited to see where we go as a country post-COVID. They got a couple of vaccines that came out, so we'll see if they are what they say they are. After Dr. Fauci takes his, I'll take mine, but I'm not taking it first. But, that's a joke. I'm put that out there. But I'm actually excited to see where we go post-COVID, because I believe in our people, and and I think we have shown time and time again how resilient we are. And I think we are just going to shine even brighter after this. So good things to come for our folk after COVID. We always get back up taller and stronger, and we will again.
Good stuff right there, Principal Turner. So now, what everybody's going through in America today, distance learning. As a principal, Principal Turner, could you tell us your opinion on distance learning?
Well, I echo the frustrations of everybody. But I also, as a principal, understand the importance of not disconnecting from children who are in the physical building. So I know that at this point, it may not be the best way to reach our scholars, but we need some way to reach our scholars. And so we're doing it via distance learning because that's what we have to do. And good leaders and good educators, we always make it work. So how I feel about it, nah, it's okay. But that definitely is not going to affect how I attack the novel problem and how I go about educating scholars and how I still use data to inform instruction, because I wouldn't be, a good leader if I use distance learning as an excuse to not continue to push our kids. So, distance learning is what it is, but kids are resilient, teachers are problem solvers, and if we, all work together, we're going to get through it.
So, Principal Turner, how connected you feel you are right now with your kids in this phase of distance learning right now as we speak?
It's interesting because I feel connected to them, but some of them I've never seen in real life. I've only seen them on the computer. So, and the reason I say I feel connected to them is because I still do principal lunches. So, it's via Zoom, but, we're just, you get your McDonald's, I get my ham sandwich, and we sit on the computer. I ask you questions, talk about your family, stuff like that. And I try to jump around each grade level to do that, just to have normal conversations with kids, because as a principal in distance learning, you just find yourself jumping in the classrooms doing Zoom and really focusing in on, developing your teachers. So like those are like two of my biggest buckets, professional development and observation and feedback. But what's missing in that equation is the principal that walks the halls all day and sees the kids. Or the principal who's at the front door greeting people. Like, how important that was for me. Like, I'm at the door every day. I don't care if it's snowing or raining. I want to get an umbrella. I want to stand at the door. I'm going to say good morning. At dismissal, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to walk around the building. That's what's missing. So my challenge has been trying to recreate that, So it's like random things like town halls, we play music together, or we do the lunch bunches, or we have like a Zumba class together, like stuff like that. And it's not the same. I'm not going to sit here and fake like, oh, it's great. It feels just like we're in the building, because it does not. But, something's better than nothing, so I'm working on it that way.
Good stuff right there, Principal Turner. We are rolling. We are down our last two questions. So, Principal Turner, when do you think the kids will be back in the schools?
It's funny, because if you would have asked me this question a couple of months ago, I would have been like, oh, we'll be back November. Now, if we follow the science, we look at the news, unfortunately, I actually am undecided in that with that answer. And that's my honest answer to you right now, because there is a rise in this, in COVID, and I don't see much being done about it. So I can't predict when we can get back in the building where the whole country's blowing up with it right now. So sad, right?
Hey, tough thing that we're dealing with. We're gonna make it.
We will. But it's crazy that, like I said, you asked me a couple months ago, I would have given you an answer. But you asked me that today, and just because of what's happening and what the data's telling us, I honestly don't know. Like,
because if you talk to a lot of people that's in education, teachers, leaders, you know, the thing everybody was saying was that January.
Good luck with that.
You
Good
know,
luck with that.
all I'm gonna say is, you know, whatever decision they make when the kids come back, make the right decision. Don't rush them back. Don't bring them back too late. Just bring them back when it's just right.
I'm with you on that one. Like, I don't want to bring kids back and then we see a COVID spike, and then we see, you know, kids taking this disease home and, you know, grandparents dying. And that's what I don't want to happen. But I also recognize that, you know, our population, the kids that I serve, their parents are essential workers. So I get it. You know, like they don't have the luxury of doing a meeting on Zoom when you are the worker at Target, the worker at Walmart, the worker in one of the restaurants. And that's how you feed your family. So I get it. Like, it makes me so nervous because I know that, you know, and the part that sucks about it even more is that it's affecting women of color even more, of them having to quit jobs and, you know, leave the workplace because they don't have childcare, and they're being forced to say, do I put my child somewhere or do I leave my job? You know, like that's really crazy. So I'm hoping that we can go back soon, but, you know, I definitely understand why people are itching to get back to work. It's not just they need babysitters. People need to eat, you know.
Last but not least, Principal Turner, like I said, when we do go back, when the kids come back, if they don't go back, what changes need to be made to accommodate these students from here on out?
I really like the incorporation of blended learning. So having technology serving a bigger role and a more thoughtful role in how we educate. I definitely think it has been beneficial for high schoolers to start later. They get more sleep. Science says that their bodies need more sleep. So them having a later start to their day has been beneficial. I do see that, you know, with our early childhood scholars, we're doing some things on the computer, but then there's a big push for them to not be on screen, but do, you know, activities to keep them engaged. So I just hope that we take best practices back into the school building when we do come back into the school building, because some kids have really taken distance learning and parts of it and they've soared with it. And I think any good educator, we're taking copious notes around what's working. So when we do come back in the building, you know, oh, teachers recording lessons and kids accessing these lessons later, being able to redo the material or to, you know, get another at bat with that skill is beneficial. So, hey, let's start recording the lessons. Like, you know, little things like that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Principal Turner. We are at the end of the show, but we got a few more things we get ready to do. But thank you so much. I really appreciate you, like I said, once again, for taking time out your busy schedule to come on the show. I really appreciate you. Touching the soul.
I wouldn't have had it any other way. I'm so sorry my mic didn't work, but I'm here today, man.
Hey, guy right here. All right, so Principal Turner, you got any shout outs?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to my Chamberlain family, Friendship Chamberlain family. So go Champions. And we are going to have a great school year.
Shout out to you, from me to you, Principal Turner, for, like I said, taking time out your busy schedule for coming on the show. Shout out to all my subscribers out there. Thank you so much. You guys are touching the soul with all the love and support. Like I always say, support comes in various ways, many ways. Phone call, text, subscribing, like, engaging in the video, pat on the back, fist pump. I know there's a lot of that's going on right now, but, you know.
Air fist pump.
Air fist pump. There you go, y'all. So thank you so much and keep it coming. Mr. Turner, where can they find you? Where can they follow you? And where can they subscribe to you at?
Perfect. I am on Twitter as Principal G Guy T. Principal Guy T. So that's PRICIPALGUYET. Principal Guy T on Twitter. And so you can follow me on there. I work for Friendship Chamberlain, so you can look at our website on there too. But yeah, Twitter, I put cool things up there. I try to talk about education a lot. I try to talk about education from the perspective of a Black man. So yeah, definitely follow me on Twitter.
You can find me at Cool Rob TV, all caps, and you can find me on Facebook at Robert Matthews, y'all. And last but not least, Principal Turner, last words, your outgoing message. Any last words?
Yeah, I got you. Outgoing words. Grace, grace, and more grace. So I just want to put that out there. We can be extremely frustrated in these times. So when you're in that grocery store and you know you're in that long line, take a breath. When your computer doesn't work, take a breath. When your child is not turning in work and you don't know why, take a breath. Because we're going to be at this for a minute, so we all need a little bit of grace.
My last words, let's save our children, because the children are our future. And no matter what you're doing out here, no matter what you're doing, Mr. Turner is an example of what I'm getting ready to say. Never give up, never give up, never give up. Thank you so much again, Guy Turner. I really appreciate you. It means a lot to me. For Principal Guy Turner, Cool Rob, and all end off every show with Cool Rob is in the building. Over and out. Self-promotion is the best shot. Over and out. This paper. Over and out, y'all. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Principal Turner, love you. I love you. We love you. We'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.